Legion Gaming. I'm your host, Donnie, and today, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Deucy.
Hello, everyone.
Deucy, how are you this fine evening that we're recording?
I am doing good. I'm excited to talk about this next game, actually the series for the next 4 weeks.
The series, our first series.
Settle in, everybody. We've got an arc on this one.
We do. We have a steady arc. We're covering 4 games over the next 4 weeks. We're starting off with Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo, and then each week we're going to be releasing Donkey Kong Country 2, then 3, and then we're going to finish off with Donkey Kong 64, which will be fun because I haven't really played that much over the last couple decades, and it'll be interesting to revisit that one.
Yeah, I don't think I've played it since I beat it way back on the N64. Like
that's probably the last
when it
time
first came out.
I played it, yeah. And I don't know when I last played DK64.
Because after that, it wasn't really readily available anywhere else.
It was not. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the last time it's been released, and I don't think it's been released since, and you can't really find it anywhere else.
Was it on Virtual Console at all?
I don't know. I'll have to look that up, actually. That'd be a good thing to look, because I know, was it Wii U that had N64 games on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might be on there. So for the next 4 weeks, we're coming to the Donkey Kong series. We're pretty excited for it since, especially the first, we have a lot of fun memories. And for us, we do have a lot of funness for Donkey Kong 64. Like for me, I played it through enough to where I got 101% or wherever the max was.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about it now, because I know like how much of a collectathon it was back then, and it felt like it.
Yeah, it's so weird hearing people talk bad about it in retrospect. But back then, I didn't care. I know it was a little annoying with the switching, but I did the same as you. I 100%ed that one.
I was immersed.
Yeah.
Absolutely immersed. So for the first game today, we're going to cover Donkey Kong Country. But before we get to that, Deucy, what have you been playing recently?
So I finally dug into that catalog of games waiting for me. I started Control.
Oh, you did? All right.
And I got to where she first pulls a light cord and goes into I don't know what it was. It was like a different area. It was a cabin or something. And then I stopped. And then other things have come out, and I haven't been able to get back to it yet. Like right after that was when Baldur's Gate 3 Shadow launched during the Game Awards.
Yeah, after. Yeah.
And I've been waiting all year for that ever since you talked about it on PC earlier in the year. I was like, I really want to try this out for once. And so I immediately downloaded that. Couldn't play it right away, but then I think within the next couple of days following that, I started that one up too. And so I've just been kind of going back and forth with Baldur's Gate, still playing a little bit of Forza every once in a while. And then also when I'm in a handheld mood and I'm just laying in bed, I'll still be playing Link's Awakening to get through that. Like I said, my goal for the end of the year is to beat that one.
Is to finish that one.
And then also I've been playing these that we decided to cover. So I beat Donkey Kong Country on Switch, and then started up Donkey Kong Country 2, which I started playing both of these way back when they first released on the Switch Online thing, which was, God, when was that?
At least 2 years ago, because some of my saves from Donkey Kong were at least 2021, so it might have been 2020, 2021, somewhere around there.
And I know they didn't originally release with the Super Nintendo, but we couldn't wait for them.
We couldn't,
like,
yeah.
Hurry up and release these. And they didn't even release them all at once. They were like one at a time. But I hadn't beaten them since they released on those, and now I finally have, at least for Donkey Kong Country. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I've finished Donkey Kong Country 1 pretty quickly. I'm making my way through 2. I'm about halfway through 2, I think, maybe a little bit more, but it's definitely a lot more difficult, which I expected and remember, because I remember that for sure when it first came out. And I've also been playing, so since we recorded the last episode, Killer Instinct, the 2013 version, got a 10th anniversary update.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Which is really cool. They changed the logo and everything, which I love. It's sort of a tribute to KI Gold, which I have a lot of fondness for. So I'm playing that, and it's really just like a Series X upgrade. Like they rebalanced some things, which
It re-released on Game Pass, right?
On Game Pass, yeah. But I love it so much that I bought the digital version before that, because that was the only reason. That was really the biggest reason I got an Xbox One back then. And back then, I mean, like 2017. Like I didn't care for the Xbox One at all.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, they had a 1S that was affordable and cheap, so I got that. And the only game I wanted for at the time was Killer Instinct, and I love that game. It's really good. The music's incredible. The fighting system's incredible. The only problem is that The only people left online, even back then and worse now, are killers.
Oh yeah.
And for me, like I'm pretty good at a lot of fighting games, but this is like the ultimate trial by fire. I mean, like my record is awful. It's like 20 wins and like 35 losses or something crazy because people are just brutal.
That's more than I'll ever get. So you're saying I should get on there so you can feel good about yourself?
No, I would say stick to the single player stuff because there's a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah.
Online, dip your toe and then just immediately take it back out. I enjoy it, but it's just like, people know what they're doing.
It's funny when it first hit, it wasn't even Game Pass. It was just kind of a free to play, wasn't it?
They did a weird free to play model where, like they released one character a week that was rotating out.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what else you could do. I think you could play online, and you could use that one character across all the modes.
I remember I played it when it first came out, and I was like, "Wow, I haven't played Killer Instinct in decades." Like, I didn't even play Gold that much back when it was on N64. And then I was playing this, and I was like, "How?" I remember being decent at the Super Nintendo version, and then I played this one. I was like, "How was I ever decent?"
Yeah,
like it's a different type of learning than Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter for sure.
It is, and I feel like it's a lot faster in terms of gameplay speed because like the combo system. Realistically, if you distill it to its purest form, it's pretty straightforward and simple. Like you have your opening hit, which you could link into a special move, and then you revert to another move, like a normal move, like a punch or kick that could sort of connect it. Or
there's like a linker,
a linker as they call them,
yeah.
which you could do in their special move. So that's the general flow of a combo, and then you have an ender. The problem is like, you have combo breakers in there, and there's people who know what they're doing because they could catch the animations and know what strength they're using.
Oh yeah,
right. So it's just one of those things where it's one of those games where you could probably understand it easily, but then applying that in an actual match is a whole other story. So I've been really enjoying it though. Like I really love that game. It's online. It's tough for me, for anyone else really, for anyone.
Yeah.
And then also I got back into Zelda Tears of the Kingdom since I played and beaten a lot of games that I was looking forward to this year, and that's one I didn't get to finish.
Oh, yeah.
And I finished a couple more dungeons, and that game is a real treat to explore. Like I really do love just roaming around in that game, seeing what pops up, seeing what caves I come across, seeing how I could solve some problem with like, the Ultra Hand connecting all these things together to like float up with a hoverboard or something. It's really awesome. Like I've been really enjoying rediscovering this one. And then so last night, you and I were talking about Far Cry 6.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I ended up booting that up for the first time in, I think it was a year and a half, almost 2 years. I think my last save was like January 2nd, 2022.
Whoa.
I had gotten through a good chunk of the game. Apparently, I got through a fifth of the game. Like I was 20% done. And I didn't really want to restart. And I don't know. I'm still kind of getting used to the changes in there. Like just as far as like now headshots really matter, which is a good thing. But the game just feels like a little bit more grounded. Like it doesn't feel so arcadey, but it's still kind of on the arcadey side. So I'm still adjusting to it. Maybe I'll finish it. I'm not sure. And of course, I started playing Mortal Kombat 1 again since it released a new season. So I've been rotating through a lot. But Zelda's been the one that I've been trying to focus on. It's a beefy game. Like I've put quite a bit of time in it, and there's so much more I just haven't even discovered on the map. It's crazy.
I've wanted to get into Far Cry 6 ever since it was announced, really, because I loved Far Cry 5 more so than 3 and 4. I really got into 5. And then, I mean, Giancarlo Esposito in 6 was like He's selling great. Point for me. But then I heard it didn't launch the smoothest that it could have. So I was like, okay, wait for Game Pass for sure. And lo and behold, it finally released on there.
Yeah, I think I got it. It was $10 because like Ubisoft games just drop in price like a rock after like 6 months to a year.
They always have some sort of special sale, but it seems like it's a year-long special sale.
Yeah. So I had the disc version, and then it's also on PS Plus. And what I love about PS Plus and at Game Pass does it too, where it's like if you had the disc version of the game installed, you could just sort of overwrite it with the digital version, and you just start playing. So Far Cry 6, I didn't have the disc in because I had Mortal Kombat or whatever. And it just started the game because it just was already on PS Plus. So it's a really cool feature that it's already installed. I didn't have to download anything. I just booted it up.
I didn't realize that at first with Game Pass, but I had...
It was something they added after the fact. Because I remember doing that with Yakuza Like a Dragon, where I have the disc version, and I couldn't... It wanted me to re-download the Game Pass version.
Yeah. Like, I have Doom 2016, and that came to Game Pass eventually. And then one day I was just like, man, I haven't played Doom, but I also don't want to walk all the way to the back where the physical game is.
How lazy are we now? Back then, that's what we would do. We'd go, kneel forward to swap the disc out, the cartridges out, whatever. Now it's like, I can't even be bothered to get up in the other room to get the disc.
So I was like, let me just push the button and see what it does, because it had the little Game Pass symbol on the corner of it. And I was like, no, I know I have this physical though. So they're probably going to ask for, oh, look, it's starting up.
Yeah, it's really great. I love it. It's such a convenient feature. So it was really easy to jump into Far Cry 6 for that reason.
Yep.
And that's what I've been playing lately. So let's go ahead and we'll take a small little musical break. And we'll get into our main event with Donkey Kong Country. All right, Deucy, we are here. We're going absolutely bananas over our featured game here today. And we're going to cover, as we mentioned before, Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo.
It's fitting that you started off with that musical interlude, because this game has one of the best soundtracks ever.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that for sure, because I think even if I didn't have any other memories of the game, the music is what would stand out, because you have any of the tunes from most of the levels just stuck in your head.
I get them stuck in my head, and I listen to them a lot at work when I'm I'm working.
It's another soundtrack where you could listen to the whole thing just like on Spotify or on YouTube or something. It's fantastic. So this game, if you weren't aware, was originally released worldwide on November 18th, 1994. So it's coming up on its 30th anniversary next year, which is pretty insane for us.
Wow.
Because we remember with this when it was released and how big of a deal it was.
Yeah.
Fun thing I found out was that it was called Super Donkey Kong in Japan, which makes sense with the early Super Nintendo naming, where a lot of games were like, Super this, Super Mario World, Super whatever. So it's fun that it was called Super Donkey Kong in Japan. I don't know if it has that same buzz that Country does, though.
I wonder if there was anybody disappointed that they got it and it wasn't like a 16-bit version of the original Donkey Kong.
Yeah, like it was like, what is this? They want like a remake or something?
Yeah.
So this game came to be because Nintendo was at a point, and then this Super Nintendo's life cycle, where they kind of saw the 3D era kind of coming and chomping at the bit there.
Oh, yeah.
So, at this point, the Saturn was coming out within the next 6 months, like 95, early 95, and then PS1 was going to come out late fall. I don't know if they had been out in Japan just yet, but I imagine they were a little bit earlier.
And I wonder, did they know much about either of those coming?
I think they just knew that it was going to be, CD-based, which might have been enough to potentially not scare them, but, give them an inkling saying, like, yeah, something's coming down that we have to compete with in some way, or at least extend the life of Super Nintendo too.
They had to, they definitely knew CD was coming, because they kept turning down all the darn CD makers.
Yeah, exactly. And including Sony, which, that's probably how they knew it was coming, right? As they were working with Sony previously on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, and that didn't work out. And they're like, well, we know what they might be working on.
Yeah.
We need to get some games here. So Howard Lincoln, he was sort of on the lookout for the next big game for the Super Nintendo. And he was the president of Nintendo of America at the time. And he had seen the success of Aladdin on the Genesis, which is very ironic because we just covered that episode, or that game. And when I was reading about this, I was sort of surprised, but also not, because, again, like the success of Aladdin, which we didn't fully grasp at the time until we were, older, was a huge deal for the Genesis.
Yeah.
No matter how we slice. It was the third best-selling game on there. And apparently that game had not so much frightened Nintendo, but it just got them, it got their attention, to put it in a certain way.
Especially when they had direct competition, where like Sonic was the top 2 selling, and he was competing with Mario, which was always a big seller. But when Aladdin came, there was a Super Nintendo Aladdin, like we mentioned, and that was the way to really see a direct comparison and see where they were. Goalpost wise.
Yeah, and even then, like the goalpost wasn't that different. I mean, Genesis and Super Nintendo were always trading blows.
Yeah.
And the other big game that was releasing this year as well in '94 was Sonic and Knuckles, which, again, on Sega was a huge deal. Sonic 3 came out in '94 as well, so it was kind of crazy that we had 2 Sonic games in a year, but also because Sonic 3 kind of released on a rushed development cycle, where they're trying to get it out, and it was almost literally half a game, where like half the levels were kind of held back for Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, and that was another thing too. No Super Nintendo game has ever done what Sonic and Knuckles did, where you could go back and connect 2 and 3 into it.
I'll tell you that thing. I vividly remember reading about that and then borrowing it from a friend in 4th grade, and I that blew my mind that
Yeah.
you could. I had Sonic 2, I had Sonic 3, and I remember locking it on there, and it looked kind of silly because it was just like stacking on up under the cartridge.
It was very wobbly.
It was, and then I'm playing Sonic 2, which I played a billion times before that, and Knuckles is playable in there.
Yeah.
And there's a whole game now with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and Sonic and Knuckles was on its own. So I don't know if Nintendo knew exactly what Sonic and Knuckles was going to do or going to be, but again, regardless, they wanted to have a big release on there. So they tapped into Rare, who had been working with them previously on other games in the Nintendo, and they especially caught Nintendo's attention when Rare bought a bunch of these Silicon Graphic Industries like workstations, these crazy rendering farms, and each one of these things were about 80,000 pounds, which I looked, it was around 45,000 in 1992. It's about 100,000 per workstation in 2023. So that tells you like how expensive and how insane these computers were, that they cost almost 100 grand each.
And how many workstations did they have?
I'm not sure. Like they had, I don't know if I read it was 30. They had quite a few. They are not 30. They could have been 30, but they had several of them because they would just be running to render these games. Like nonstop. And these workstations were also used in big movies at the time. There was Jurassic Park, which used these workstations, and also Terminator 2.
Damn.
So they're rendering, CG on that level, on like filmmaking level, right?
And those are, well, I'm sure you use these examples on purpose, but those are two of the best still today that look.
Those
that
hold up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like for me, it's, Terminator 2 is like one of the, for me, it's one of the best movies ever to begin with. But the CG in there somehow holds up 32 years later. And Jurassic Park, 30 years this year. The CG in there is it's still amazing. It outclasses a lot of the movies you'll see today.
Yeah.
So Nintendo knew that Rare got those, and that's kind of what started the conversation for the next 3 platforming game. And I think Rare had seen that, they'd seen the digitized success of like Mortal Kombat and all these other games that were coming out at the time. And they knew that the next project, they wanted to do something where they were using these 3D rendering workstations. And they ended up working with Nintendo, and Nintendo's like, all right, well, Donkey Kong 3 didn't work out so well for us. It didn't sell well. It was kind of like a flop.
Which I didn't even realize back then.
I didn't realize that either because I knew Donkey Kong Jr., and that's about where it started and ended with me,
I remember we had one friend way back in elementary school who had Donkey Kong 3, and I had never heard of it until then, and I was like, whoa. And then I didn't keep in touch with him, and I never saw it again for decades.
Yeah, it's weird because, like Donkey Kong on its own has a lot of history. There's a fantastic documentary out called The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, which we covered on our other podcast, Hollywood Video Guys, which Deucy was on that episode as well.
Definitely listen to that one.
Yeah, it's a fun episode, and we talk about a little bit about Donkey Kong's history on there and the arcade history. And for me, that's kind of where, like I said, that's where it was for me. I knew Donkey Kong the arcade game. I had heard of Donkey Kong Jr. I think I played like once or twice at that time, but Donkey Kong 3 just totally escapes me. I had no idea it really even existed. And Nintendo, being that it was sort of a stagnant IP, when Rare asked to use it, they felt like it was low risk enough that they're like, well, you can't really do much more damage to it. So feel free, go ahead and do what you want to do with Donkey Kong.
That is crazy to think of when you see Donkey Kong these days.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like it's. I mean, they have multiple games now, 30 years later, and it's weird that I think that Donkey Kong may not be as relevant as he is now had it not been for Donkey Kong Country, right?
Yeah.
So with these workstations, Rare was beginning to scope out on how to work out, what they wanted to do for the graphics and everything. And what these workstations did is that they allowed them to render these 3D graphics and then essentially make them into sprites that could, run on the Super Nintendo. And what this really meant was that the Super Nintendo couldn't render 3D that well, right? The only example we really had was Star Fox, which was really, it was really primitive. Like it's a lot of flat colors, right? Like it's
shapes.
It's shapes. It looks great, but it's run super slow because the Super Nintendo isn't made to run 3D games at all. Like there's no way they even would have thought of that in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And they actually had to have the Super Effects chip to, help in the rendering of those graphics on there. So by doing this process, they made a process called advanced computer modeling where they would render those 3D images from wireframing. They would texture them. They would, add bone structures for animations. And then they would convert that into sprites to run on the SNES. And that would,
It's interesting because I remember growing up and watching a lot of the behind the scenes things. And I saw the 3D rendering that they were doing, but then I didn't put 2 and 2 together that they were transforming that into a sprite still. To me, it really felt like they put the 3D character into the game.
And that's why I'd assume too, because that's, at least from what I remember, again, that was like 3 years ago when I saw that VHS tape that Nintendo Power was, just throwing around. They're sending subscribers. And they made it seem like that, they're taking these high-res 3D models that they were showing, and like I remember they were spinning them and all that stuff, like to show them off. It looked like the Super Nintendo was running that, but it was such an impressive effect that like I didn't know there was a difference between the two. You know? And also with these workstations, despite how powerful they were, it would often take more, overnight to render a single model on there.
Oh yeah.
So for any enemy, any character that they're modeling, any animations, that's it. It would take all freaking night to render it, which is amazing to think that they would spend that much time to get this. Like it seems like you're beholden to the time of of how it renders, right? So it's like you can only work so far ahead. Otherwise, you're just waiting for the stuff to finish up and get to be a playable state.
It sounds like when we were downloading videos in dial-up.
It was. Yeah, it's like I'm going to take an hour and a half to download 3 megabytes of this Metallica song or something, So the game design was heavily inspired by Super Mario 3. I think that's pretty obvious when you watch it. They thought a lot of the level design from Mario 3 would translate to, the dynamism that they wanted in Donkey Kong Country. And the levels were actually designed over post-it notes, which was pretty fun to read. They said that each sort of post-it note was like a level element or like, vines or something or barrels. And then they would like, kind of map them out on that, which is a pretty interesting way of rendering a level because a lot of times we'll see, developers do like on graph paper, like to map them out. But doing this sort of modular design does make sense where it's like you can kind of, map out the variety in the levels.
You can pull one and move it over.
Exactly.
And you can also tell while you're playing that this feels like a chunk where you're running on land and then all of a sudden there's a barrel section.
Yeah.
And then there's like a vine swinging section.
It's interesting because you almost like I replayed the game before I was kind of researching the notes on here. But it's funny, like when you mentioned that's exactly how I felt, where it's like I felt like every screen was almost like I could see the post-it note almost, right?
Yeah.
Like each screen's its own sort of disparate elements. Some are repeated, some are not, and like you kind of see some of the tropes it would have, like certain barrels positioned in certain ways. Like it's really cool that it kind of shines through, but it's also subtle enough to where I wouldn't have thought, I didn't even know it would have been designed on post-it notes. It's just a fun modular way to design levels, And then they said the biggest nightmare of the game were backgrounds because they take up so much rendering space that it was just eating away at the Super Nintendo's memory. So they found some inventive way of repeating the background elements where it was kind of seamless and you wouldn't really recognize, which is true because now like when I played it through, I think the backgrounds really just were that like there were backgrounds, but I didn't see seams or it didn't seem like it was sticking out in some kind of goofy way. And then they wanted to add Diddy Kong. He was the new addition to this game, which we'll talk about too. He was added as a second hit, similar to Mario's power-ups, like the power-up mushrooms. So they wanted some way to convey to a player that you had 2 hits before you died. And then they also sort of had 2 characters on the screen at once, which is really new. Like this is the first game I remember doing that I remember vividly playing, where you could have 2 characters on the screen at once that you could play and alternate between.
Yeah, at least in single player. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also did that. The purpose of that was they also wanted to make the player not feel alone, like you're kind of going on an adventure with your buddy, which I think is pretty effective.
Yeah.
Like it's not overt, but it makes sense too, So the whole thing with this game was like it was supposed to come out right before Thanksgiving 1994, because again, they were feeling a lot of pressure from Sonic and Knuckles releasing in October, I believe it was. That led to the team having to crunch, which is always unfortunate to read about. But they said they were working like 12, 16-hour days. Like they say it was a nightmare. Like Nintendo was pressuring them, like we need to get this out, Like this has to be our Christmas hit.
12 to 16-hour days sounds kind of actually like less than modern crunching.
I know modern crunching, it just sounds like a nightmare. But I imagine too, like they're probably working 7 days a week, and that's also like depending on what they're rendering. Like I can't imagine just having to painstakingly wait for that stuff to finish up while you're working the game still, And then Kev Bayless, he was actually the one who redesigned Donkey Kong, and he made him bulkier so that he can make him so it'd be easier to animate him, because in Donkey Kong, like a lot of the animations that Diddy and Donkey Kong have in here are pretty. I'd say they're pretty damn fluid for the time. Like they look really good. Donkey Kong definitely has some weight to him that you can tell, like just in his hop and his jumping and like just his rolling.
I mean, I think he makes a different sound effect when he lands on things compared to Diddy. Like,
he does, like it's deeper.
Thud.
Yeah, it's a heavier sound, which I think is really cool. Like it does show how different the 2 characters are.
Yeah.
And then they also like they're working closely with Nintendo, of course, on this. And then Shigeru Miyamoto was also giving feedback, and he was the one who kind of suggested a few things to make the game better. Like he suggests Donkey Kong has the ground pound where
you
hit down and Y and like he smashes his palms to the ground and you get like bananas or you could kill enemies.
I forgot about that when I replayed it recently. I don't know how I forgot about that.
Remember because I remember doing because there's certain patches you could do it on and get bananas and stuff. So I remember doing that and discovering that as a kid. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know?
It's one of my favorite moves in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. And then he also suggested the red tie, which I thought was a funny, nice touch on Donkey Kong. And then,
he's dapper.
Yeah. And then Diddy Kong, he was initially conceived as the redesign of Donkey Kong Jr. They modeled him after a spider monkey, so he wouldn't have that similar build to Donkey Kong when they animated him and rendered him.
Oh yeah, and he gets to play different that way.
Yeah, and then the fun thing I read here, which I thought was really silly, was they had an original name for him. It was Dinky Kong, which I thought was kind of a pretty dumb name.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was thinking about this like when people was like, "Oh, this was originally named this," and I think like. Would I have liked that name back then? Like, would it have made a difference? Because we know him as Diddy Kong now, 30 years later. But in 1984, like, would we have cared that it was Donkey and Dinky Kong?
Yes. I want to say, I hope.
I feel like I would have. Yeah, it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
But they couldn't use Dinky Kong because of some sort of legal issue that they haven't disclosed. They just said that they were advised by their counsel not to use it.
I mean, no, I can't even imagine. Unless it's like, hey, people are going to take this the wrong way.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other and the other ideas they have for him, which were they weren't any better. There was Diet DK, there was DK Light, and Titchy Kong, which I have no idea what Titchy is.
What the heck is that? That's got to be something English.
It might be
because it's rare.
It's it's really weird. Like I was like Titchy Kong, and I should have looked it up, but I imagine it's some sort of slang or some cheeky reference to something.
Diet DK and DK Light have to be jokes, right? How would you name an entire character that?
That one sounds like they just like they have their sodas around, like their soda cans. They're like, well, what about Diet DK or DK Light? And it's like, no,
you're gonna play as Donkey and Diet.
Yeah, no. What? No. So I think Diddy was the right choice, no matter how we slice it.
I also like. I don't know if this was originally in their plans or maybe it came along when Miyamoto suggested the tie, but I like how they made Cranky Kong the original Donkey.
Yeah, that was great.
And then this Donkey Kong, there's varying stories. Like some say this Donkey Kong with the tie is DK Jr.
That's what I've heard for since I was a kid.
But I think if you look in the instruction booklet, I think they say this one is Cranky's grandson. So he would be DK Jr.'s son.
Yeah. Which it's like, where's DK Jr. then at that point, right?
Yeah, he wasn't as successful. It skips a generation.
Yeah, I guess not. The DK Jr. is the really successful one. Yeah. So the music, this is gonna be a big point for us because the music and the soundtrack in this game is one of my favorites ever. It's one of the best you'll hear on the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
A lot of it was composed by David Wise, and he composed, all the Donkey Kong Country games. He's done Battletoads, RC Param, Beetlejuice, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, but not the Nintendo 64 ones, which was pretty interesting. What? Yeah, he didn't do Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie for whatever reason.
Huh.
At least not that I could find on there. And then he's done a lot of modern stuff, including, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which is on the Wii U and Switch, which is a fantastic Switch game.
It's a return to form, and he definitely helps that.
He does. Some of the themes are remixes. It's great.
I'm really surprised he didn't do Banjo-Kazooie because that has a great soundtrack too.
Well, I know. I double checked because I was like, he did Nuts and Bolts on 360, but not the Nintendo 64 ones. That seems really weird. I'm not sure what the deal was there.
I'm also surprised to hear he did RC Pro-Am because that's one of my favorite racing games on Nintendo.
I love that game.
And it has an amazing title screen song. Mm-hmm. But then I also don't remember much other music. Like if he did just that one song, bravo.
Yeah, he's the winner no matter what. And David Wise was he was talking about the development of this game. He said that it was considerably easier to compose music on the Super Nintendo because they had a lot more sound channels than the NES, which makes sense. I mean, I'd imagine like I think that's one thing that's always impressed with me is like when we talk about Nintendo games or we love the soundtracks on there, like how primitive and how few sound channels it has. Mm-hmm. Yet some of those music tracks are some of the most memorable for us, right? Like
Mega Man, Castlevania,
Batman, all those big games. They're just like with minimal, with minimal sound channels, minimal resources, and they make these amazing tunes. So I'm sure for a composer like him, it was like a breath of fresh air to have a lot more hardware to work with and a lot more runway to spread his wings, his
Yeah.
musical wings. So for this, he initially recorded 3 jungle demo songs that eventually became the DK Island Swing. And then the way he composed is that he was shown graphics and he played levels, and then that would kind of give him a sense for the music he wanted to compose around it. So it was more like, here's the scenes and I'll compose around it versus like I'll compose music and you kind of, mold the scenes around the music.
So he played them, I'm assuming, in silence, but they were already
which how awkward must that be? Because for us, part of the experience is the music when you're playing the levels. And for him, it's like he's got to get those gears turning while he's playing the game to know what he's trying to feel, right?
I think that's kind of smart because then it's like you're allowing him to just put in what he's feeling. He's like, what do I want to hear when I'm doing this?
And he's like, what do I want players to feel as they're playing this as well, right? And for him, the samples and the music, they were totally optimized for the Super Nintendo sound chip, which is why it sounds so damn good. Like, this is definitely one of the most atmospheric soundtracks you'll find on there, and that's what he was going for. Like, he went for heavy atmosphere and natural environmental sounds, which he nailed, I think. Like, there's no way to dispute it.
Yeah, some of my favorite sound effects are when you're in the caves or cavern type things, and there's this like whooshing air noise.
Yeah.
That really makes you feel like you're deep down in something.
It's great. I think the music is it's a huge component of the game itself, right?
Oh,
Even the overall experience, like the music is what, when you have like your memories, you marry the music with, the gameplay on this. And I think it's perfect. It's perfectly complementary to those. Probably the most memorable song from this game is Aquatic Ambience. And this is an incredible track. I'll definitely play it somewhere in the episode. If not at the end, I would probably play it throughout the whole episode. Like, I could intersperse it.
There should just be in the background right now while we're talking.
Yeah, it is. I love this song so much. And this is definitely one that that even David Wise considers his favorite. It took 5 weeks to compose, which I'm a guitar noodler. Like, I don't, I'm not very good. I'm okay.
Yeah.
But for me, like, to think I'm spending 5 weeks and you compose Aquatic Ambiance, it's like, how much better could you get than that? Right? It's such a great song.
I remember when I was living with Mike and he sort of rediscovered it after years of we hadn't played Donkey Kong Country, and then just for weeks on end he would just have that playing throughout the apartment.
It's a jam. Like, it's such a good song. You could be doing anything, or you could be listening, you could be working, playing another game. Like, it's just great background music. It's such a good song. I love it. And then some other notes on the music. King K. Rool's theme was inspired by Iron Maiden, which I could tell. Iron Maiden used a lot of galloping in their music, and I could tell, like, the end music, it did sound like an Iron Maiden song. So when I read that, I was like, yeah, that jives the right way.
That was one of my favorite final boss themes.
It's a great
of
final
any
boss
game.
theme.
Yeah.
I feel like this thing is like I could intersperse so much music from this game, and it's like I could just intersperse it here, there.
Yeah.
And all the songs in this game, there's so many songs you could tie into it. It's so good.
And what's great is in Donkey Kong Country 2, they bring that theme back right away in the first level.
Mm-hmm. It's great, yeah. And other contributors to the music was a composer named Eveline Novakovic, or Novakovic, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So she was a composer for a ton of games, and more notably, she was Joanna Dark in Perfect Dark. She was the voice actress for that for that character, yeah. So she contributed 7 tracks to the game, including the world map theme. And then Robin Beanland, he composed Funky Kong theme, which I love that jam.
Oh man, yeah, that was when I first played the game and I first got to him. I would just stand there. I wouldn't even take off in the plane. I would just stand there.
It's so good
and listen to the music.
It's such like a high energy song.
Yeah,
and I really laughed when I read that. This was originally he originally just composed a song to be sort of like something he could add to like a PowerPoint presentation, and it was like a progress video for Killer Instinct. And it was really just meant to be something that they would add to like a trailer to show like progress on the game.
Yeah.
But they ended up using it for Funky Kong's airport in Donkey Kong Country. That was really great. So that's really the development of the game. And then we're leading into the pre-release stuff. And this game was hyped beyond belief in 1994. Like, I remember seeing this in magazines. Like, they're showing all the 3D rendering stuff. They're talking about all the SGI workstations. Like, Nintendo really wanted you to know that, like, they were here to stay. They were prepared to, combat the 3D era when it was coming head on.
The SGI that you mentioned is what? Silicon Graphics Industries. That was probably the first time I was even aware of the word.
Me too.
Silicon Graphics.
Me too.
Yeah.
And so, again, Nintendo was like, they were teasing everyone about this. They're showing it off at the Consumer Electronics Show. It got a lot of, good press there. Like, it was very well received. Just, again, like, the graphics in 1994 for this game were really nothing you had seen on a console before. Like, PC was getting the 3D era. They had games like System Shock, like games like Doom were already out, of course.
I feel like you could achieve this on the point and click adventures and not much else.
You could, yeah. So that's the thing. It's like this experience was also something you couldn't really have on PC. At least not that I could remember. Nothing remotely close.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo went as far as partnering with Kellogg's. They had like this really cool sweepstakes where it's like, I think it was like you get the Kong letters, you could win some sort of 600,000 giveaway or something like that. We'll post pictures of that online because I found some of the pictures of the cereal boxes because I was asking Deucy if you remember seeing these, and I feel like I had to have because I'm sure I would have seen the box and like, oh, I want some Frosted Flakes or Smacks or whatever.
I wasn't a big Kellogg's kid back in the day. It was Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Cocoa Puffs for me, which I think were General Mills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were. I remember going to your house and seeing like the tubs because you get the Costco cereals. Yeah. And then Nintendo also sent out VHS tapes to Nintendo Power subscribers. And I don't think I wasn't a subscriber of Nintendo Power at this time. I know you were, right? You had the tape.
I had that tape. It came in a completely sealed box that was just the jungle leaves all over.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Because I eventually got that. I forgot where I got that. Because then I had like the Star Fox one. I forgot what else they had. There was Star Fox, something else.
GoldenEye, I think, had one. Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong Racing. Yeah, I think I had a couple of them. I know I definitely had Star Fox.
I feel like Donkey Kong Country was the only one they made for Super Nintendo.
It probably was because that was 94, and then
maybe 2 and 3 had ones.
We have to look that up. I'm sure someone has a whole collection of the Nintendo Power VHS tapes.
Yeah.
But I remember watching it. It was just like a 20-minute hype video. Like there was this, it was like kids playing the games. They were showing everything. Like it was really meant. I think it really meant to, get kids talking about it, to get word of mouth advertising out. Like, hey, did you get the tape for Nintendo Power? Well, I did. Like, here's Donkey Kong Country. Have you heard of it? You
want to borrow it, or do you want to come over and watch it after school?
Well, exactly. That did happen, I'm sure. And then, so the game did eventually release. It was released in November 1994 to critical acclaim. It sold a ton. It sold I think it was like 1.6 million in the first week. It was like it turned out to be one of the fastest selling games ever. It sold 500,000 in the first week, and then so the total lifetime sales for this actually was 9.3 million, which is a pretty huge amount of games. And that's only the third best selling Super Nintendo game. That was behind Super Mario All Stars, which was at 10.5 million in second. And the first, which I don't know how they calculate this because it was Super Mario World at number 1 at 20 million. And it's like, I don't know if they're counting because that was the pack-in game. So I don't know if that's how much that figure factors in the pack-in stuff.
I feel like eventually it wasn't a pack-in game because then
it eventually because you could buy the complete version now. It's like $400.
And also
of a standalone.
And then at one point they bundled Mario All Stars and Mario World together. So how does that factor into the sales?
That's what I'm curious about because nonetheless, it's impressive. Donkey Kong Country is third in the best-selling list for them. But I was surprised that I'm not surprised, but it's interesting that Mario World is a top-selling one, right? And I think Wii Sports is probably the same case for the Wii, right, where it sold like 100-something million. I have no idea. I'd be curious to check that out.
Because that was bundled in. I was more surprised that Mario All Stars was 2.
Yeah, I could see that, but that was like for me when that game came out, it was pretty big deal because you had 3 sort of remakes of the OG Mario games, and you had Lost Levels. That's a lot of game in there.
It was also impressive remakes because it was one of the first times that I can remember where they updated the graphics but kept the game the same.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's really what stood out more than anything else. I didn't accept it as a remake. I know the concept of remake back then.
I don't remember. I might have gotten it for Christmas, but I do know that I got it because my dad wanted to play the originals that he loved.
That's funny. It worked out. Yeah. And then for comparison's sake, Donkey Kong Country 2 is the 6th best-selling Super Nintendo game with 5.1 million copies. And Donkey Kong Country 3 is 11th at 3.5 million copies. Those two make sense. I expected those to sell a lot more, but like for Donkey Kong Country 3, that was released in 96, which is sort of like the tail end, or leading in the tail end of the Super Nintendo in 97. So it's probably like the last, Donkey Kong Country 3 is like one of the last maybe 15, 20 games released. So it's kind of impressive. It made 3.5 million in the last couple of years that it was around.
Wait, what was Donkey Kong 2 at?
It's 5.1 million. 6th on the list of all time.
I was just trying to think, like, you'd think that would have been a little higher because everybody knew what 1 was and they wanted 2.
That's what I would expect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it's just the first one was such a big titan that, and again, by the time Country 2 came out, maybe it's like, the PS1 was factoring into things because it was out, maybe Saturn a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, but I would expect it, that, 9 point something million to 5. It's a pretty big difference between one and the other, especially when the second game is, it's better.
Yeah.
Right? It's definitely better. So some games that released around the same time as Donkey Kong Country was Sonic and Knuckles. We went in a little bit depth about that. There was Doom 2 had just come out. Killer Instinct, the arcade version, came out. Warcraft Orcs and Humans, which is the first game in the Warcraft series. That was that early in 94. Tekken, the original Tekken was 1994 in the arcade.
Whoa.
Crazy. It's coming up on its 30th anniversary, and Tekken 8's just coming out soon too. And then there was Warriors Woods, and then a Bungie game well before Halo, Marathon.
I remember I had never heard of that until Halo 3.
Yeah,
when
same
they started
for me.
Putting Easter eggs into it, and then I think it came out on Xbox Live.
Marathon Durandal. I don't know where that fits in the series, but that's where I first heard of Marathon was on Xbox Live Arcade back then. It was like 06, 07.
You could definitely tell the influences it had on Halo.
It was, and you could also see the Doom influences in Marathon, which is fun to see. Yeah. So, like we mentioned, Donkey Kong Country was very well reviewed. GamePro in December 1994 is the cover story in issue 65. They gave the graphics a 5, a sound a 4.5, a control a 5, fun factor a 5.
Hold up. Sound 4.5?
I was about to point that out. So, and I pulled the quote from the review. So they were gushing over the graphics, all the secrets, all levels. Like, they really did love this game. This is where I think they kind of were, a little bit stumbling in their logic. They said, quote, "The music is great, but not quite perfect. The theme song is forgettable, but the cool sound effects include lots of gorilla screeches, chimp whimpers, and jungle drums." Like you mentioned, everything else that makes the music better and the sound effects, but I'm like, it's 4.5 to a 5. It's not that big a deal, but I'm like,
but it would
the title screen's forgettable. Like we're talking about it 30 years later.
GamePro gave away 5s like they were nothing, and for this they couldn't give it a perfect score.
They just gave it one notch below. I thought that was really funny. Right? I was like, I know Deuce is gonna have his feathers ruffled with this one. Really, the only negatives for the game, which they didn't really factor into the score much, as you can tell. They just said that the game was a little bit easy to rush through, and it's like if you don't attempt secrets, like sure, it's shorter.
Yeah,
it makes sense. But even then, it's not that short. I think it's like a reasonable length if you don't go do any of the secrets. And then EGM, they covered it in issue 64, November 1994. This issue was a beefy issue. I love when magazines were this big. It was over 400 pages, which was great.
What?
Yeah, it was a beefy issue. EGM had beefy issues back then.
400?
Yeah.
I can't even picture a magazine being that thick.
It's not as thick as you would think, but it's a big issue. Like I was just going through it, even not like because I had the.
But
exactly.
Back.
Yeah.
But still, like, God. Damn.
Yeah, well, because back then, like, that's the thing is I love magazines back then because there was a lot of them, especially EGM. GamePro would do it sometimes, but they had like the mega size issues where, especially like after E3 or some big show or like holidays, like they would try to cover everything and anything and have reviews because, they were trying to get your attention any way they could.
I was a Nintendo Power kid, so they only covered Nintendo games.
Yeah.
I could see these other ones having to cover every system
Everything.
possible.
I mean, they were covering like Turbo Duo. They were covering, the Neo Geo at times. Like, it could get pretty insane there. So it was cool when I read through and I was like, 400 pages. This is one of those issues.
Damn.
But interestingly enough, Donkey Kong Country wasn't the cover story on this. It was Doom. Which, I could see that makes sense. Like, Doom was huge at this point, and Donkey Kong Country was big, but, Doom was Doom. So the reviews for EGM, the reviewers gave it a 10 out of 10. They gave it a 9, a 9, and a 9. And they really were just gushing about the game nonstop. They said it's simply the best game out there. They thought the graphics were mind-blowing, and like all 4 reviewers really had nothing negative to say. Like they were just in love with this game.
And yet 3 9s.
3 9s. I guess it wasn't quite perfect, like it was great, but not quite perfect. Despite not being a cover story, they did have like a huge feature on it. Like they had an 8-page, sort of intro to the game. They had like the, the icons, the tokens, tips on the bosses. Like it was really just kind of like a primer on the game.
What tips do you need for these bosses? They are the easiest in the series.
Yeah, well, exactly. Which I could say like that's probably my biggest negative of the game is the bosses. I would say.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, it was fun little tips for how to get through some of the levels, and with a lot of these previews, because this is sort of like in the preview section of EGM, they usually do like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, like here's what's great about the game, here's what's not good, what's ugly. They really had nothing bad to say. So the good, they said, without a doubt, this is the best game the Super NES has ever seen. Bad, excuse me, the what? Not in this game. And the ugly, any other game after playing this masterpiece. So going back to what you just said about the review scores, like they call it a masterpiece, but those guys were just that much below getting a 10 out of 10 on there. It's pretty fun.
I want to know what games they gave full 10s to, and then compare them to these reviews.
I have to look because I don't think Mega Man X got all 10s. I know at least got one, maybe two. But I'd be curious to see what they get all 10s. Because back then, a lot of magazines, especially EGM, weren't handing out 10s like crazy. Like even then, even later on, they were pretty rare. Like I remember a handful off the top of my head, right? Like there was Halo, they gave 10 out of 10s. Tony Hawk 3, they gave 10 out of 10s. Ocarina of Time. And there's maybe a few others. I don't know if Tony Hawk 2 got it. Like they're not giving them out like all the time. But even like Donkey Kong Country, I would say in 1994 should be a 10 out of 10. Like there's not much that gets much better back then. And then Nintendo Power reviewed it in issue 66, November 1994. This was the cover story, which makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. They did a 10-page spread with maps, tips, secrets for a few of the levels. It was really weird. Like there wasn't really any, I couldn't figure out what reason why they chose some of the levels. Like it was just kind of like throughout the the game world. Maybe to show the variety, I would guess, right? Like maybe
probably
here's 11 levels.
Because some of the themes repeat.
Exactly. Yeah. So for their scores, the graphics got a 4.9, play control a 4.1, challenge 4.6, theme and fun got a 4.4. They loved the graphics and said it was the best action game with over 100 bonus areas. And really their only negative was that they thought players would miss a lot, especially the bonus areas, if they kind of rushed through, and they would think that the game was shorter than it is. Which I think is a fair criticism, because in this game, compared to DKC 2 and even 3, like some of the bonuses are hidden pretty well, because you do have to do some blind jumps sometimes.
There's blind jumps, and there's also walls that you can break with barrels, but they don't mark them very well. Like it's
not at all.
Yeah, it's not like there's a crack in the wall like in Zelda.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You just have to run into every wall with a barrel in front of you and see if it breaks through.
Yeah. So this game, I would say it's a pretty robust game. There's 40 levels over 7 worlds, and most of them have 2 or 3 secrets within them. Like the secrets are, they can be as simple as like you'll see a bonus barrel above you, you could just jump into it, or you might see it off screen and jump into it, or like Deucy was just saying, like you'll have to, usually through trial and error, unless you had a guide. You would just carry a barrel and just try to run into walls and hope one of them breaks,
You could sort of see, once you break 1 or 2 in the first levels, you can sort of see going forward if there's any other walls that look similar. They're very short. Then okay, that's probably one, and I'll try it. And then it's usually a fake out. So you have to do it to everyone you see.
Yeah, and that's the way they add replay value to the game. I think it's fine. Like it's, I would say the penalty for getting game over isn't that bad. Like you just start your last save point, which saves are free in here, and then you could just start it over with 5 lives. So I know there was a lot of that back then when I played it. But Deucy, what was your first experiences with Donkey Kong Country? Like what were you feeling at the time? Like, where was your hype level? What did you think?
I don't remember being super hyped about it like I was with Mario 3 and Darkwing Duck back in the day. For Super Nintendo, I just knew that Donkey Kong used to be the barrel throwing monkey, and now he's got his own side scroller. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I want to say I rented it first and immediately loved it. Mm-hmm. And so then it definitely went on my Christmas wish list, which based on when it was released, I probably rented it pretty soon into November.
It must have been.
And then immediately put it on my list.
Because this was released like a week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it must have been like you rented it within the first couple weeks, and that's it. It went on your yellow legal pad.
Who knows? Because I got it that year. Who knows if if my parents had to go out or if they had even shopped yet for me. But
yeah, I rented it too, because I vividly remember renting it at Blockbuster, because it had recently opened in the town the town we were living in, where I was. Because again, we always rented the warehouse because it was right down the street basically, and Blockbuster was brand new up the street. It had 3-day rentals. Warehouse had 1-day rentals, which is really rough.
Yeah.
And one of the first games I rented from Blockbuster was Donkey Kong Country, and it was the same thing. Like I vividly remember the box art. It's definitely one of my favorite box arts, just on look alone. Like that, when I see that, like I think I have a lot of memories, but I also just think it's like it's so perfectly set, to tell you what the game's about. It's like Donkey Kong on He's running through like a jungle. There's like a big banana thing, a big bunch of bananas behind him. Like it looks 3D-ish. And it's kind of what the game looks like. It's one of the few instances where you can see what the box art is, and it kind of matches up to the game.
I remember one of my earliest memories of it was just how the sound effect for collecting bananas hooked me.
Yeah, and you'd see the animation of the banana like going from the bottom of your screen to the top to your counter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could hear it counting up. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I mean, it's like at this point, it's as ingrained in me as Mario's coins and Sonic's rings.
It is. It really is. So, I have a lot of memories with this. I remember playing it a lot when I rented it. I got it way late, though, because I don't know what the case was. It was one of those games where it's like, I probably got it used or something way later on the line because I would rent it. And
or borrow it from me.
Borrow it from you. Yeah, and I would play through the hell of it. And I do remember getting 101% because in this game, you can go through the entire game without getting the bonus areas, and I think it's pretty unlikely that you'll miss all of them. Like I'd say, even if you accidentally get into some, you're going to get into some because I think the game is designed in such a way where you might happen across certain secrets, and that's going to encourage you to, kind of search around, explore, and look for more.
Yeah.
And one nice thing that this one does is like when you do find all the secrets in the level, you have an exclamation point on the level name, which is great. So that tells you like you're done with that. You've collected all the secret bonus areas on there. And like I mentioned, this game does have 40 levels over 7 worlds. The worlds are Congo Jungle, Monkey Mines, Vine Valley, Gorilla Glacier, Krem Croc Industries, Chimp Caverns, and Gangplank Galleon.
You know what I just realized after all these years? Why this is Donkey Kong's island. I mean, the mountain is his face.
Yeah.
Why did he let Krem Croc build a factory on his head?
I guess they just invaded, and bought him out. I have no idea how it works.
They set up, I mean, everything's rusty there. It feels like they've been there
They've
for a
industrialized
little
it. Yeah. Like, this isn't something new. Unless it's, predates Donkey Kong that we're playing as. Maybe it was a cranky deal.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It could have been him for all we know. I don't know.
Getting money under the table.
Yeah. So the whole story is set for this game. It's pretty funny and silly. It's just, Donkey Kong's bananas have been stolen by King K. Rool, and he sort of invaded Donkey Kong Island, and you're off to reclaim all your bananas. And each of the bosses in this game, you fight them in the background. It's just like a giant horde of bananas.
I always loved that part.
It's really fun. Yeah. It looks so silly, but it's a really fun theme because, I would say the weakest spot of this game are the bosses just because they're so dumb and easy and just not very exciting at all. Like you could tell that, at least I think they spent not the least time on it, but, they could have done better with the bosses on here.
Well, yeah, when 4 of them are just reskins. Like 2 of them are reskins of earlier bosses.
Yeah.
And like the vulture one, only his neck pops out of the sides.
Necky. Yeah.
And really the second, what's his name? Necky? Yeah, the second one is the only one I had trouble with because he spits his almonds faster.
He does, and he's a little bit faster too.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I would say like that's the thing I realized when I was revisiting this is like, I heard criticism way before about how the bosses don't hold up at all, and I would say that's true. Like I remember having difficulty with them when I played them as a kid, but now I play them like, yeah, these are really not that difficult. They're just kind of annoying.
The giant beaver in World War I.
He's just hopping back and forth.
Yeah,
that's all he does. Yeah. And this game, I think one of the big things it had that wasn't too common, I would say, was co-op mode. There's two co-op modes on. There's one where you could play it together and get through the levels and tag in and out, which I think is a really cool feature. Like you both had to sync up the button to tag out. And then basically like one player would be playing, like you couldn't control anything, right? The other person couldn't control anything. And there's also competitive mode where you basically race through levels, which I thought was really cool because that's the mode I think we should play and try to race on.
Oh yeah.
I think of all the games we could race on, this probably be the most, I'd say the most competitive. Maybe, I don't know about Mega Man X. Nope, maybe not because...
What, Mega Man X?
Yeah, did you say we could do a race on that one or no?
Up to a point because
up to a point.
Yeah.
Okay, so this probably is the best one we could do a race on, perhaps competitively then.
I was thinking in my head, you could do Mega Man X and I'll do Mega Man 2 or something.
You think you would be able to get through that one that fast?
Yeah, it's roughly the same. 8 bosses, like what, 3 or 4 castle levels at the end.
I could see. I'd be curious about that one because I'd be surprised because Mega Man 2 is pretty hard when I went back to that one.
But yeah, Donkey Kong Country for sure. We could go head to head on that one.
I think so. I think it'd be a fun thing. I have to figure out how we could even begin to stream that. But that'd be really cool to do. That'd be really fun. So this game had I think it did pretty well with the amount of variety it had. Like there's the all your animal buddies you could have, like Rambi the rhino.
Oh yeah.
There's On Guard the swordfish, Winky Frog, Espresso the ostrich, and Squawks the parrot, who just is like, he holds a lantern.
He's only in one level.
He's only in one level in this game, which is surprising, but he's still like a pretty memorable character. Like that's one thing that struck me is like he's memorable.
They brought him back for every other one.
They did, and he had a bigger role in those too. Like he had some pretty crazy levels in Donkey Kong Country too.
He's even in the later ones, the Country Returns and Tropical Freeze.
Yeah. And then, like we mentioned, all the bonus areas in here, they're pretty fun to discover, but I would say the variety on those is pretty low. A lot of them involve like collecting, like stars or actually collecting bananas.
The difference with these, I think, is like they're bonus areas where they're like another area of the level, and later on they're like kind of bonus games.
They are. They're almost like mini games, which again, like playing these back to back with, or playing Donkey Kong Country 2 back to back with this, you could see how much they learned, like how much Rare learned from Donkey Kong Country 1, because the variety in 2, it's immediate. Like the first world you're in alone, just the level variety and then the bonus game variety, it's like night and day between the two games.
Yeah.
But again, like, in 1994, this was still amazing. Like I loved playing this game no matter what, like with friends or just solo. I did remember getting a guide, or I must have brought your Nintendo Power or something, because we did get 101% on these saves.
Oh, I had a guide for it.
Did you have a guide? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So the other mechanics in the game, there's Kong letters you can find each level. There's 4. You can spell it Kong, and when you do, you get an extra life. You can also earn an extra life by getting 100 bananas, which helps a lot because I don't think this game is terribly difficult, but there are some levels that have a difficulty spike and are pretty damn hard.
Oh, well, only towards the end, I think. I finished the game, which is a difference than when I played it on Super Nintendo, but this most recent playthrough, I finished the game with 67 extra lives.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. But in the last world alone, in World 6, I had to have... I lost at least 13, and that's not counting the 1-ups I got along the way. Mm-hmm. So it had to have been 20 or more.
Yeah. It was just like offset the whole time.
Yeah. And so really the difficulty spike, I think, comes in at about, I mean, maybe for you it comes in about World 4 with the snow levels.
Yeah, Gorilla Glacier is probably, I don't want to say the most hated world, but it has my most hated level in it by far.
And for me it comes in World 5 with the factories and everything.
And that's funny to me because I think level worlds 5 and 6 aren't that bad for me. Like I got through them pretty easily. Like it wasn't that difficult. Like I got, granted, I was also I was rushing through more or less just to see how fast I could beat it, because it's like I could go 101%, but I've done it. I don't really need it. I also don't remember where everything is, you know? So I was kind of rushing through it. So I did get game over a few times. And, again, the penalty's pretty small. Like I was just restarting it at Candy's save point, which is fine. But Snow Barrel Blast on the Gorilla Glacier, which is the first level in that world, a nightmare. I don't know what it is between the wind, like there's this heavy snow effect going on that level. It's a pretty thick snow, which it's a really cool effect. But also, it tends to obscure your vision quite a bit, which is also the intention.
That's actually one of my favorite graphical levels because it doesn't start heavy.
Yeah.
It starts out just a cloudy day, and then as the level progresses, it gets heavier.
Yeah, you see the snowflakes starting to fall down, like they're slowly falling down, and all of a sudden it's a storm.
Yeah.
And this level feels like it's one of the longest levels in the game, too. It's just like I had a lot of trouble getting through it because I do remember having that trouble back then. Like that was one of my most hated levels. Like I would play with my buddy Alex. He would come over and play co-op. And like there was more often than not, I'd tag him and be like, hey, just get through this because I'm having a hard time. And even now, it's just, I don't know if it's because of the barrel timing or, I would slip off certain things. Like I was texting you before, like for me, the controls are great, but it felt like there were a few instances, and I don't know if it was the Nintendo Switch Online, but like I would just slip off an edge or something, or I wouldn't jump when I was telling him to jump.
Well, that happens. Like you said earlier about Donkey's feel, like he definitely feels heavy.
Yeah, he's got a weight to him.
And he kind of slides, especially in the snow levels. They put in some minor ice physics, so it'll be easier to slip off the edge. But you could slip off an edge even in the jungle levels.
Exactly, yeah. And it's, again, it's not frequent enough to where it hurts the game anyway. It's just something where it's like I'll be in a flow of like jumping and this and that, and all of a sudden like it'll eat an input, or he wouldn't jump and he'd slip. I was like, oh, come on. So I would lose lives just on that because I was also trying to get through the level.
I feel like it has to do with the graphical looks of the levels, like the 3D looks, where you don't quite know where the edge of the platform is.
Yeah,
Whereas
absolutely.
in Mario or Mega Man, you can tell by the pixel. You could hang one toe on the corner because it's a straight 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
But when it came to this one, you're like, is that platform or is that for show?
Exactly. And I think that has a lot to do with it too, because it's like you said, it's those 3D looking environments, but there's some where it's like you're not sure where your footing is.
Yeah.
And if you're also like, I don't know how they rendered them, or how the collision boxes are, but it does feel like where it's like if you're not sitting flat on the platform, like you'll slip off almost.
Yeah, you'll start to roll.
Yeah,
slide.
So I was dealing with that a lot, and again, like it wasn't a bad thing. It was just it's me having to slow down. Like if I just paced myself, it would have been fine. I would have had 67 lives apparently, instead of getting game over several times.
I have no idea how I got that many. When you were telling me about the game overs, I hadn't checked my lives in a while, and then when I turned it on, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
When did I get this?
Well, and again, it shows how I was rushing through, because my time was like an hour and 56, I think it was. And you had, was it 2 hours and 56, something like that?
A little bit, yeah, maybe into the 3-hour mark.
3 hours. So, 3.5 hours?
I think so.
Oh, wow. So I had a whole hour and a half ahead of you.
Yeah.
Granted, I also had, I think it was like 56% of the bonuses, something like that. And you had like 70, I think.
High 70s, like 78.
78. See, so you went through the game, thoroughly. So yeah, and also you have earned a lot of lives from those bonus rooms. Whereas I was just like, I'm getting through the game. I know how to get through it, and then I got through it in less than 2 hours. But apparently, I died 67 times more than you did, at least.
And
maybe not so much, but
I think because of the bonus rooms, you also get those little gold tokens.
I love those bonus rooms, yeah,
of your animal buddies. And when you get 3 of those, you go to just the lives bonanza room.
I think those bonus areas are the best ones, but it sucks because they're so infrequent, because you have to do the bonus areas to get the tokens, and also you have to hope you get 3 tokens. Like I think, my favorite of those bonus animal areas was especially the ostrich, because you would just like fly back and forth and kind of pan across. I didn't like Winky's though. The frog was like probably my least favorite to control in this, because it was he's a frog. He hops kind of weirdly.
I do like him better than the snake in the next one though.
Yes, the snake is rough.
Did you get in those bonus rooms? Did you get the giant animal token that would multiply?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because that's when it really helps. I noticed in one level, I was in World 6, dying a lot, and luckily when you collect a token of those, it saves even when you die.
Yeah, so you could technically farm them if you really wanted to, if you had the lives for it.
If you ended up dying a lot and you kept going back to the same bonus room, you could easily collect multiple animal bonus rooms, and then you get about 4 or 5 lives per room.
Yeah, and you could do that with lives too. Like there's times where bonus lives do appear throughout the levels, and if you did die, you could technically just hop over vultures or whatever and collect them
right away. Go to the very first level, jump back into DK's house. Yeah, and there's always a 1-up in there.
And I think so. That's a good segue into this, but I think Jungle Hijinks, that's the first level you play in the game.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the best introductory levels you could play in a Super Nintendo game. It shows you, it kind of guides you through all the moves you could do. It shows you like all the enemies and sort of their animations and whatnot. It's also just a really good showcase for how good the game looks.
Yeah,
because it's one of the more vibrant levels. And I would assume that's deliberate, because it's like they want to make that good first impression for whoever plays it. Like this is the experience you're gonna have for the rest of the game.
You even get an animal buddy right off the bat.
Yeah, with Rainby the rhino. He was so cool to control back then. Oh my god, I love seeing them. And then, did you have a favorite level, or excuse me, I hated level, Deucy? Because for me, like I said, Snow Barrel Blast, the first level in Gorilla Glacier, I hated that level.
I right off the bat, when you asked me that, like, just to keep it in mind, I do remember that the very last level before the last 2 bosses, Platform Peril, I think it's called. I always hated that one back then and still today, because there are some invincible enemies that you have to hit with barrels, no matter if you're Donkey or Diddy. That was one thing I did like about these enemies, is like,
oh yeah, the big buff ones, right?
Yeah,
that took me a few tries.
Some of the big buff ones you could hit with Donkey at least, and then but
these guys were pink, I believe, and you couldn't.
They had different
bop
clothes.
Them. Yeah,
and so you had to hit them with a barrel. Plus the platforms are moving and then dropping, and it just, for some reason, there were points where I was not getting the timing down right, and I was just dying over and over. But then when I replayed it for this one, I passed it in probably my 2nd or 3rd try, whereas the first level of the 6th world, the one with the fuel,
Yeah, I actually like the level a lot. We have to collect the
I
barrels of fuel.
hate that
Yeah,
one.
I do remember hating it when I was a kid though, because again, that's another one I would have Alex do for me.
I don't remember hating it as much back then, but I do hate it now. And then I realized I kind of dislike everything in World 6. I was going one by one to get through them, and I was just like, each one I was dying multiple times, and I was just like, feels like a slog now. And I'm right there at the finish line.
Yeah. I would say objectively I could see that. I like World 6 a lot, but it does get a little long in the tooth because it does force too many gimmicks on you to kind of, make the game more difficult than it needs to be at that point.
Every level seems like you're doing something extra, like you're collecting the fuel barrels, you're turning on the lights in that one cave level.
Oh, I like the level 2 actually. Yeah, yeah. Where if the lights are off, those guys, the guys who are like crouched down, they start running back and forth and can kill you in one hit. Yeah.
And it even starts in the end of World 5 with the blackout basement. That one was getting on my nerves too, just because it goes super pitch black.
So I'll tell you, on the OLED Switch, that was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, I had to, in my mind, like I would see where the platform was, and I think I have a pretty good judge of distance with most platforming games. So I would see where it was because it would flicker fast too. It was a lot faster than I recall. So I was lucky enough to where, that level wasn't too difficult because I could actually time the jumps while the screen was going black. But I was like, holy crap, like this is dark. You can't see anything.
I feel like on the Super Nintendo, you could still see a little bit, couldn't you?
Maybe, but also could have been, like we could have had our TV brightness up. Who knows what could have factored into that? I don't know what the difference was, but it was really dark on when I played through it this time.
This one, I don't even have the OLED Switch, and I was getting pitch black, and I was like, okay, leap of faith.
That's really what it felt like, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. For me, World 5 and 6, I could see why you wouldn't like it because there's a lot of gimmicks. I think the themes for both of those aren't nearly as exciting as the early ones either. I think at that point, like, I don't like the industrial theme too much.
Actually, I do like the theme. It's the last new theme that you get in the game, because World 6 is a lot of recycled minecart level, a cave level, that weird little cavern track level, like the fuel is on.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. In fact, if you listen to the soundtrack, they play it in order that you hear the music for the first time.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So every time you would hear a song for the first time, that's where it'll show up on the music. The industrial song is one of the last ones before K. Rool's theme, which means there's nothing original in World 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought back on it, and I do remember playing Donkey Kong Country a lot when we were younger.
Absolutely, me too.
But I also now realize that I didn't finish it a lot because I just got tired by World 6.
I know I finished it, but I would say as a kid, World 6 definitely was really difficult and pretty annoying at the time.
And there's only 5 levels in it.
It's a shorter world. And I could see it making sense now too, because, we were talking about the development of the game. Like, they had to rush this essentially towards the end. Like, they had to make a Thanksgiving release no matter what for Nintendo. So I would say it's a safe assumption that by World 6, like, it's still a complete world. It's still great, but it's part of those things where it's like maybe they wanted to do more, and like they just didn't have the time to add anything or refine anything more, because I think there are some of the levels there that they are kind of repetitive. They're not too exciting. Like, I definitely think it loses steam as it gets towards the end.
I think it's because they couldn't make any new themes for the levels.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had to add what you pointed out, like all the extra fluff, like the fuel barrels or the light barrels or something like that.
Yeah. Did you have any favorite levels or worlds in particular that you would want to call out?
I'd say my favorite level is, and I think there's only one like this, which is weird. It's the ice cavern one, where the ropes are blue and purple.
I forgot what it's called. It's not Ropey Rampage, is it?
No, that's in one of the earlier worlds. It is.
It's like the second or third level, I want to say.
Slip Slide Ride.
There you go. Yes.
And when you go into it, you think, oh, this might be a minecart level because of a ride. But no, it's those ropes that actually make you go up or make you go down.
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool gimmick.
It adds a great puzzle element, but then overall, just the way the crystal caverns look.
With some of the reflections too, it's impressive. Like, there's a little bit of reflections in the icy areas.
Yeah, and I just really like that look. And I was sad when that's like the one theme that doesn't repeat.
Yeah,
in the entire game.
Yeah, for me, I had a few levels. I had a Minecart Carnage.
Yep.
That's I would say it's a lot more difficult level when I was a kid, but I love, it's mine carts. It's such a great theme, and then it's pretty fun. The music's really great. Like it's a lot of intensity.
Is this? Would you say, because I have that every minecart level is my favorite in this?
I was even across the series, especially 2. I love the minecart levels.
Would you say this is kind of the genesis of minecart levels?
I would think so, because it's funny. Like Mario RPG had one later on, right, in '96, where it was. I would say this is kind of like the beginning, or at least when it was popularized.
Even Resident Evil 4 now has one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Is it because of Donkey Kong Country? Yeah. I don't know.
Another set of levels, nothing specific, is every underwater level because of the song.
Oh, absolutely. I would agree with that for sure. I couldn't name the levels off the top of my head, but I would say the only thing I don't like about those is the controls. Donkey Kong Country 2 feels great underwater, but this one, again, it's not bad or anything. It's just when you play them back to back, you can see the difference.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hard to control underwater, but it doesn't matter. Underwater levels are really good, and of course, the aquatic ambiance, it's the jam.
Usually, they at least give you a chance to get and guard, which makes it a little easier to control. It does.
He's a great underwater animal buddy. Excuse me. So the other levels I liked was one you hated, was Blackout Basement. I really liked that one because that's kind of like a speed running level to me, because you kind of have to speed through it to change the lights over. Yeah, if you want to be able to see. There's also Ropey Rampage. I forgot what world that was in. I
would say like World 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's one of the earlier ones. But for me, I think that's the thing, is like when I was trying to pick out some of my favorites, I realized that, again, kind of like we had with this conversation, where the early levels are my favorite just because they have the most varying in themes. It's just once you get to like the industry theme, and especially the 6th world, I don't find those as exciting, or as it's like you really want to see the jungle stuff. That's really what they excelled at, or like the icy areas, or when they had like those Aztec temples, right?
Yeah. Everything seemed very unique going up, even like I said, until the first industrial level, and then it's funny. There's one last water world in World 5, but it's green.
Yeah, the poison peril or something like that. Yeah,
because it's supposed to be like
toxic water.
Yeah. But it still has aquatic ambiance, so you're like, no, this is still peaceful.
It's fine. Yeah, it's a little more difficult, but it's actually a pretty cool looking level too. Like it looks like kind of a literal acid trip almost.
Yeah.
There. Yeah.
I did like the treetop levels because it reminded me of Endor.
Oh yeah, those are great levels. Yeah, with the and they had I think it was like the chimps that would or the orangutans that would throw the barrels. It's almost like a tribute to Donkey Kong in a way.
Yeah,
it's really fun. They're throwing barrels down the vines and everything. You have to like avoid them, even though it's kind of sucks that they're coming from off screen. Like you can kind of hear them.
Yeah,
but you don't really know the timing till you see them appear on screen. It might be too late by then. And then the bosses, we kind of went over them. I don't like really any of the bosses. Like they function as bosses, and that's about it. But even then, they're just not good. Especially for as good as all the levels are in this game, the bosses really don't hold up to the rest of the game.
The only one I can think of that kind of leads into the next game is the giant bee, the King Zinger or King Zing or something.
Yeah.
Because that one was the only one where you have to pick up a barrel and hit him, which is what they rely on in 2 and going forward.
They do. Yeah.
The other ones you just have to jump on their heads. I guess the most unique one was World 5 with the drum that would come and try to smash you, and then
that was just like a gauntlet of enemies.
Yeah, enemies would come out. But yeah, nothing. The best part of those is just the bananas in the background.
It is, and I would say that the best boss fight in the game, and it's the last boss fight, is against King K. Rool, because the music. I love the pirate ship background he's got. Like that. I love that level. Like you're finally going through. The journey of Donkey Kong's island all through his face and everything, and then you visit King K. Rool on the pirate ship to kill him.
And it's so funny. They call it a separate world, World 7, but it's only the one level.
It's the one level.
It's the one battle. And then later they go into the pirate theme on DKC 2.
They do, which works really well. But I think King K. Rool is like the only boss that feels like a boss. And he's not, I thought he was difficult when I was younger, but now he's not that difficult at all.
No, I breezed through him in the first try.
Yeah, exactly, right? But it's one of those things where it's like he's tuned just enough. Like it feels like a boss fight. And then it's cool, like you topple him, and then it's like he's dead, or
Yeah.
is he, right? And then
I
the
did
credits
get
start
faked
to roll.
out.
Yeah, I got faked out too when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then he has more attacks, like he has the bigger hop and everything.
And the cannonballs.
The cannonballs, and the music goes up in tempo. Like, it's a great end, and then the credits scroll up, and they have all the names of the enemies.
Yeah.
So I feel like this game from begin to end is, it's a real freaking treat. Like, I really enjoyed revisiting this one.
Even back in the day, even my mom played this one. But she got stuck on the barrel levels in the third world. The barrel, that's when they really started getting heavy on the barrel timing and stuff.
Yeah, because they go fast and everything.
And they put more enemies in your way and everything. But somehow, I don't remember, she never really played 2 or 3 on Super, but we got the Donkey Kong Land series, which were these, but shrunken down. And she blew through all 3 of those. She 100%ed all of those. Well, no. Donkey Kong Land 1, I don't think she 100%ed because I think there's a glitch where you can't. I'd have to look it up. But there was this one bonus world or bonus level that she just could not find. It was right towards the end of the game, too.
That's freaking hell. She must have been so mad.
Oh, yeah.
I bet. I know your mom. She would have been real mad
She's
about
like,
that
I
one
just
thing.
can't find this stupid thing.
So got the guide and everything.
She moved on to 2 and 3 and beat those.
Yeah. So there was a couple of remakes, quote unquote, that were made from this game. So there was a Game Boy Color version. They consider this a remake, which I thought was interesting. The Game Boy Color version, which was released in 2000, it was sort of spiritual successors of DK Land games. Those might be something worth covering, maybe not like each episode, but like, we'll cover like the trilogy of those because
the land ones.
Yeah, I'd be interested in revisiting those because I borrowed those from you. I never bought those. I never owned them. I always borrowed them from you.
They were actually, the land series was similar and yet different enough because like World 4, I think there's only 4 worlds in DK Land, and the 4th world is a city. It's not.
Oh, I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, those would be fun to revisit because I do remember, enjoying them a lot. It's just I never bought them as a kid.
Yeah.
And then there's also one more remake on the Game Boy Advance in 2003, and that was one I remember seeing back then. I just didn't have. I guess I didn't have an interest in buying it. I don't remember really seeing it in stores. 2003. I don't know. I was working at Hollywood Video back then. I don't know what I was doing.
I forgot all about the advanced ones.
Me too.
I do remember seeing the Game Boy Color one and not wanting it because I was like, whatever, I've got it on Super.
Yeah.
But then the advanced ones came out, and recently I've seen some coverage on those on YouTube, and they're fairly different and fairly impressive for how they got them onto the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
And now I'm like kicking myself for not getting them.
I know that's the boat I always get into. It's like I watched videos about them too, and I was like, damn, they actually are pretty good. I think it's just at the time it's probably like, well, I've already played Donkey Kong Country, like I don't need to revisit them on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
And, we had Xbox and GameCube and all that back then. Like it's probably just something that was just out of our periphery for what we were playing at the time.
My Super Nintendo was always hooked up still.
It was then. Yeah, so was mine and my
it.
Genesis. Yeah, exactly. So I think that was the other thing. Like, well, I just pop in the cart and be done.
Yeah.
So for speedruns in this game, this is definitely one of the more speedrun games, or one of the most speedrun games that you see on GDQ.
Yeah.
There's records for it. There's a ton of categories. I only covered a couple on here.
I always enjoy the races.
I love this is one of my favorite games to watch in a speedrun marathon because it's always fun. They have a ton of glitches they use, and it's always impressive. Like they can get through the game in like 45 minutes or less, or an hour less or something. It's crazy. And then when you have it as a race, especially the relay races where there's teams going through all 3 games, it's always a fun time. Like it's a big chunk of time, but it's fun to have in the background if you just need something to go on.
Not only are there glitches that they utilize, which sometimes I don't enjoy, but it's cool to know that they're there and you can do them. There's also those game dev barrels.
Yeah.
That skips entire levels and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is mind-blowing. Even I could try to get those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be curious if we could learn some speedrun tricks because there's always tutorials on them, and there's some games that speedrunners recommend as like your first speedrun game. Like I know Strider on Nintendo is one of the ones that they recommend because there's a lot of glitches you can do easily there, right? So for speedruns, I picked a couple categories here. There was 101%. It's by Lovebird 920. They did it in 44 minutes and 19 seconds, which is mind-blowing to me. I don't know how you get 101% in 44 minutes.
That's wild because you can't. I mean, you could probably do some glitches, but you can't do the game dev.
Yeah, you can't do the skip ones because you're getting 101%, so you have to get every bonus area and complete every level.
Yeah,
so it's pretty crazy. And then any percent, which is it's just them getting through the game as quickly as possible, abusing wherever they can, whether it's glitches, skips, etc., etc. Also by Lovebird 920 in 7 minutes and 28 seconds. I have to check this run out because I don't know. I mean, that's skipping 95% of the game at that point for doing it done in 7 minutes. And there's also a category for no major glitches, also by Lovebird 920, and they did it in 33 minutes and 56 seconds. This no major glitches one is essentially just like an 80% run where they go through it, but they can't use glitches that are called. I don't know what most of these do, by the way. There's jump rolls, which I think is the one where it's like Diddy can roll off, the edge of a platform and still keep his momentum and have his same jump height or something.
No, there's one I've seen it. It might be this, but like you are rolling through the entire level.
They do that
in a straight line.
I've seen that. Yeah. I forgot what that one's called, but it might be the jump roll. Then there's something called super jumps, wrong warps, mine cart glitch, split up glitch, and there's a handful of other glitches that you can't use in the no major glitches category. But again, any percent, 33 minutes, it's still impressive. It's just fun that
I feel like in that one you can still use the game dev warp
barrels. They may be able to.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a list on there, but again, it's like I had no idea what most of the glitches were.
Because those aren't glitches. Those are just you have to get to the barrel in a certain time from the start of the level, and then ta-da, you got it.
Yeah. But again, like that, the difference between no major glitches category and 101% is only 11 minutes. So they're like, in 10 more minutes, I get 101% the game.
Yeah, I can get all of the extra barrels.
Yeah. And then if you want to play Donkey Kong Country today, it's very easy. If you have a Switch Online account, you can play it on the SNES app that they have on there. It has all 3 games on there and a boatload of other great SNES games.
Their best releases so far on there.
I would say so. Yeah. And these are really easy to get into. Like, Donkey Kong Country is one of those, straightforward platformers now, but it was like one of the most mind-blowing games we'd ever seen at the time. And I would definitely say it's a masterpiece. And, it's one of the most influential, Super Nintendo games. I think some people kind of, maybe put a little too much dirt on it, saying like, it's a simple platformer, like it's kind of dry, and then saying exciting. I'm like, maybe it is in 2023, but in 1994, it was hard to get any, much better than Donkey Kong Country.
And I think I still like it the best out of all 3.
Really?
Because
I could agree with that too, actually. Yeah.
Because 2 and 3 are starting to show the signs of Rare's collectathons.
Yeah, that's true.
And 1 is very straightforward. You have secrets to find, but you don't have to collect coins and things to get the real ending.
Yeah, and I think so. My surprise there was I thought you would have said DKC2 was like your favorite of the trilogy.
Oh yeah,
I think DKC2 is probably the best of the trilogy. Because it improved it on tons of things that this had issues with, like from the level variety to the length of the game and all these other things that it fixed bosses. But I think I'm with you where DKC 1 for me is the one I have the most nostalgia for because I probably play it the most. And again, 2 and 3 I had to borrow from you most of the time. So I owned 1, and for me, like everything about this game that revolved around it, like especially like the earlier worlds, I have so much fun from that. I do think that it's probably my favorite of the trilogy, but it's hard for me to say DKC2 isn't either because there's a lot great in DKC2.
I just find this one the easiest to pick up and play.
I would agree. It's definitely, and it's also pretty easy. Like it's not insanely easy. Like I wouldn't say. Actually, I don't know. Would you say this is harder than Aladdin on Super Nintendo, or maybe a little bit easier? Yeah, harder.
For sure.
So I would say. I'd say not as easy as Aladdin on Super Nintendo. But it's also not going to make you rip your hair out at how difficult it is. Like
until World 6.
Until World 6, maybe. Snow Barrel Blast for me, so like the third world for me. But even then, like once you get past that, like the game's pretty straightforward.
And compared to DKC2, where it's better in every way, but also harder in every way.
It is. It's. I've been playing through it, and I'm pretty far, and it's just as difficult as remembered.
Right now, I want to say my live count is only in the 30s or 40s.
Oh no, I've gotten game overs already, and that's I've tried to seek out bonus areas in there too, and I've gone through it slower because I also don't know the game nearly as well as DKC 1. So it's just I think I'm at like 3 hours, and I'm like, I don't know, 50-60% done, something like that. Like granted, I've collected some things, but not everything. Like I don't remember nearly as much stuff.
I'm into the keep at the top, which is I think the last world, but I'm early on in that one.
Oh, so you already made it to the end there then?
Yeah.
I think I'm what's 1 or 2 worlds before that? It's like in the 2nd or 3rd level, whatever it is.
Oh, have you gone to the theme park yet?
Oh, no, I'm in the gloomy. Yeah, I'm in Gloomy Gulch.
Oh, okay, that's the 3rd world.
Okay, 3rd. So yeah. I think I don't know if I just beat that or what, but I'm around there.
At least they don't have the Animal Buddy bonus areas anymore, I don't think.
No.
No. But they
No.
do have the introduction of Swanky Kong, in his game show.
That
gets me lives.
And was it Crinkly Kong? Is that her name?
Wrinkly.
Excuse me, Crinkly. I don't know where that came from.
It makes sense.
Cranky and Winkly, I guess. I don't know.
Crinkly if you're going alliteration.
Yeah.
But Donkey Kong Country 1, like I said, it's easier to pick up, and I feel like the soundtrack is even a little better. But
I'd say so. I think the thing is, aquatic ambiance trounces pretty much everything they've done in the whole series.
But the second one, which we'll talk about in the next episode, it has the Bramble.
It does. It's got its own set of bops.
Yeah, the Bramble Blast and the one in the caverns, the Crystal Caves.
Oh yes.
Oh my God, that's probably one of my favorites of the whole series.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. I just think, like of all the soundtracks, the aquatic ambiance it just sticks out that much. It's so good. So I think that'll do it for Donkey Kong Country. So if there's any feedback you want to give us, any thoughts, memories, anything else you want to talk about Donkey Kong Country, or you just want to say hello or do whatever, you could send us an email at LegionGamingPod@gmail.com. We're on X and Twitter at LegionGamingPod. You can find us on Instagram where we post some cool and fun stuff at Legion Gaming Podcast. Deucy, any final words for our friends who are in the Donkey Kong Country world with us at this point?
Just press start to continue on to DKC2.
Thank you, everybody.